Good morning, my friends. Welcome to our New Testament challenge. Today I'm going to share some thoughts on the sixth chapter of the book of Acts, Acts chapter 6. A short chapter, which is nice. Couple of thoughts. The first section, there's only two sections to the chapter. The first section talks about a conflict, problem, whatever you want to call it, in the life of the church, the early church. And we thought our church today had issues. Um, the church, even though it's God ordained, is still human, and there are going to be human issues. And how you deal with those disagreements and those difficulties affects how you can continue to minister. And so this was a wonderful example of how ministry continued, how people were called according to their giftedness and given responsibilities. And we find out early on that the apostles were focused in on certain things, but they were going to make sure that all the ministry was taken care of. And so the Hellenists are Jews or Jewish Christians who speak Greek. And Hebrews, they only speak Greek, and so you got Greeks and Hebrews. So there's some language issues going on here. And so the Hellenists were complaining that their widows were not getting what the Hebrew widows were getting. And so the apostles said, all right, let's bring everybody together, and said, and the English translation sounds a little blunt, and I'd have to go back and look at the Greek and see what it said, and see if that's was a normal statement back then. But they said, we're called to teach and preach. We're called to the ministry of the word. And we should not have to spend our time and efforts handling these things, these other things of ministry. And they don't say these things were bad, but they said that's not our call. And this kind of reminds me of Moses and his father-in-law Jethro. Remember, Moses was trying to do too much, trying to lead too much, trying to take on everything and do it himself. And so Jethro said, "You're gonna burn out. Find men of good character, back then it was men, and give them responsibilities, give them authority." And so here, what the apostles do is they identify seven, one of them being Stephen, and they were full of faith and the Holy Spirit, and they gathered them together, and they were prayed over and laid hands on by the apostles, and they were given responsibility to care for the widows. They wanted to make sure that they were taken care of, which is fine. Which is fine. Interesting side note, even though they were given responsibility for serving, they still did preaching and teaching. We're about to see that with Stephen. Philip also did that, and it's just a part of, but their main goal, their main focus, their main job was making sure the members were taken care of, the people of the church were taken care of, the widows and the orphans were taken care of. That was their main job. And so the second half of the book is Stephen, full of grace and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. And so there were some who disagreed with him, and they stirred up people and lied before him, and they brought him to the council. And so, at the end of chapter 6, I love this. It says, "And all who sat in the council looked intently at him, and they saw that his face was like the face of an angel." So interesting. We hear this about Stephen. You know, all we know is it's interesting what they say about him. Stephen, a man full of faith in the Holy Spirit, and then full of grace and power, did great wonders and signs among the people. But he does not last long, which we'll find out in chapter 7. So just something to think about. I guess the lessons I would get from today's point is that each of us have calls, and figure out a way to focus on your call, and that there are those who are called to the Word and those who are called to service, and everything that is needed in the life of this church was taken care of. That, I guess, that's the most important thing. All the needs are taken care of, and in today's world, we struggle. I mean, there's just so much going on and so many opportunities, and that you're not going to find a perfect church. There was no perfect church in New Testament times. There's not a perfect church here. Our goal is to keep improving, to do the best we can. If we find out an area where we're slacking, we work on improving. And if it's not in my area or someone else's area, we find someone who does, who has a call to serve in that area. And that's the goal. That is our goal. So hopefully this has been helpful for you. Interesting stuff. And we'll go more into Stephen. The whole chapter 7 is all about Stephen. And so we'll go into that tomorrow. All right? Thanks a lot. Have a good day, my friends.